So the next day came and I got hold of her and I said, "Where were you? I was there and you weren't there." And she was arrogant to me. She started snipping at me like I was in the wrong, which was bizarre, honestly. Wrong and bizarre. And she says, "Well, when do you want to take it?" She was really rude with me. She says, "I'm grading these. You need to get this done." And I'm like, on the phone. And so I told her I'll take it at this time and this place. And we made sure that we were both clear where I was supposed to be to take this for adolescent psychology exam. I showed up there, and this time it was like in daytime, as I recall. And she wasn't there. Again, second time, she was not there. She was not there. And I called her up the next day, and I asked her, "Where were you?" I was there again. And she played it off somehow. I forgot how, like I was in the wrong a second time. She was in total denial that she did me wrong. And she said, "Well, you're too late now." She says, "I'm going to have to give you an incomplete in this class." And I filed all kinds of complaints because I was supposed to student teach in the next semester, the fall or the spring of, what was it? The spring of, I was supposed to student teach in the spring of 2001. But you can't student teach unless you get this course done. And she didn't show up twice. And I complained to the college, and they were sympathetic to me, and I guess they had words with her, and she was rude to them too because she was vested. And you know what? I didn't get to student teach in the spring of 2001, which would have been my final semester. I would have had a job teaching in the fall of 2001, done with college, and soon done with my military tenure as well, retirement at age 41. Oh, it makes me mad to think about it to this day. All right, so during that, so I didn't get to student teach the spring of 2001. So that's when this voices things happen. So I wasn't doing anything that spring, just bumming around because I had to student teach in the fall of 2001. I took the one class, made it up again, adolescent psychology, took her stupid exam, and the woman gave me a C plus, and I was an A student. I don't know what, I got along with her well. Quite frankly, she was an atheist. I think the devil used that woman, quite frankly, and you'll see how that could be. A lot of those college professors are anti-Christian and feminist too, and I'm a conservative. Maybe that, I can't figure her out. It seems like she was a tool that year. So the spring, early summer of 2001, I'm visiting my mom. Enter into this story somebody in our family who was about 17, her granddaughter. And I won't mention names. She's got a number of granddaughters. My mom's been gone for 3 years now, for almost 3 years, 3.5. I couldn't tell this, and I'm not. And I knew this person since they were a child. And I got along with this person, the adolescent. We were friends, but I knew them to be a very manipulative, dishonest person from childhood. Have you ever met a child that is dishonest? Just manipulative, dishonest child. And this person, to me, seemed like telling lies and getting away with it was like a really cool trick in life that they got a big kick out of, telling lies to people and getting away with it and manipulating people and crocodile tears and all that. That kind of person. And I wish them well. Hopefully they're on track in life, and I think they are. But I don't communicate with them anymore. Well, my mom really loves this person. Loves. Still does, I'm sure. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just telling you a story. And this person, my mom had 3 sons, and I think she always wanted a daughter, I always thought, but I don't know that. But she really loved this person, and this person wound up living with her, and my mom was raising her. And my mom, she just captivated with her. It was her biggest joy in life. I'd never seen my mom so lit up with this teenage girl, you know. She loved her as a child, loved her all the way through, and still does, like I said, I'm sure. If they love you here on earth and they die, they still love you in the afterlife. There's no reason that doesn't change. Just like Christ loved us, crucified, rose from the dead, and he still loves us. They still love us, at least as much. So I'm in the backyard one summer day, and my mom is with this person, and it was my mother's backyard. And I remember it was a beautiful weather. It was really beautiful weather, and I was still young, and my future was ahead of me. I felt confident. I was almost done with my 20 years in the military. I was doing well in college. Yeah, I had that screw-up blooper that I talked about with that woman, the psychology professor. She was like the chair of the department, so she was a big wig. She was probably like in her mid-50s then, I'd say, maybe 60. A very dry person. I never had a problem with her. Other than whatever, you know, just did the course. So I'm watching my mom with this person, this granddaughter. And my mom, and they're laughing together. They're facing each other. And the granddaughter's here, my mom's here. This is where the voices come in. And I'm just kind of standing back just because those two she had my mother's attention. And she was laughing and my mom was laughing and looking at her, and I could see the look of joy on my mom. Was just so delighted with this girl. Really loved and cherished this girl, and this girl knew it. I knew this. And I'm watching them smile and laugh together, and I'm standing a little bit further away from me to the camera. And this is where the voice comes in. I'm watching them enjoy each other's company. And this voice said in my head, it said, "Oh no." But it wasn't me. And I heard it very loud and clear. It almost sounded like my own voice, but it wasn't me. It said, "Oh no." And I answered it in my head. I've never had this happen. I had like a dialogue with somebody else in my head. It said, "Oh no." And I said, "What?" It said, "You are in for a very long, bad time with these two." And somehow I got a sinking feeling. Somehow I knew it was right. I knew what it was saying was right, but I couldn't see it. I said, "No, I'm not." I said, I could feel that I was going to be into for a very bad time with these two. That's what it said. It said, "Oh no." And I got a sinking feeling. And I go, "What?" It said, "You are in for a very bad time with these two." And I paused and I felt the weight of what it was saying. I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'll just get a job." I was going to be a teacher in a year, and I could work anywhere in New York State and make a living. I could work anywhere in America and make a living with a SUNY degree, a master's in arts from State University of New York. To teach is the best you could get, my understanding, one of them. I'd get a job anywhere. I said, "No, I won't." I didn't speak. I said it in my head. I said, "If things get hard, I'll just move away. I'll get away from it." And then it spoke to me again, and it said, "No, you won't be able to." It said, "You're going to be caught up in this in a way that you will not be able to get untangled." It said, "You are in for a very bad, protracted, bad time." That's what it said. And that was the end of it. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to repeat the whole thing without interjecting. I'm watching my mom and her laugh, and they looked so, but I knew what type of person this one was, the teenager, since childhood. And I knew my mom was just putty in her hands. My mom must have been about 60 then. How old was she? 65, about my age then. Yeah, about my age. And I'm watching him, and then, it said, "Oh no." And I got a sinking feeling. I said, "What?" In my head. And he said, "You are in for a very bad time with these two." And I paused, and I got the gist of what it was saying, and I felt that it was true. And that really kind of bothered me. I am interjecting. And I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I'll just get a job somewhere else and move away if it gets bad." And it said, "No, you won't be able to. You are going to be tangled up in this in a way that you will not be able to get away from it." It said, "You are in for a very bad, long," and it said protracted, bad time with these two. And that was it. Poof. It was gone, and I'm standing there wondering, what was that? Because it wasn't me. And this is the only time in my life this has happened. I didn't get an evil feeling from it. It didn't seem like it was God either. I didn't feel like it was God. I didn't feel like it was evil. I think it was just concerned about me and knew the future. I felt that what it said was pretty much written in stone. So forget all that. I'll get a job and move away from this. So the next semester, I finally am ready. I redid the adolescent psychology course that spring when this event happened that I just described. All right, I'm locked and loaded to student teach. And student teach I did, and it was really a piece of cake. I thought it was easy peasy. I don't know what everybody was complaining how hard. It wasn't hard. And I did well at it. And it was also my final year in the military. It was my final year, almost, close. I only had another full year to go. And I would have been done with that, and I would have been starting a brand new career, still young enough to easily do 20 or 25 years, God willing, to get a whole new career. So I would have had a military pension and a New York State teacher's pension, at least as a teacher, hopefully as a principal or superintendent, and Social Security at this point in my life right now. Not working factory jobs or at Walmart or at a hardware Lowe's, And I worked for this, and I was a single dad, serving in the Army, paying my child support, doing everything I'm supposed to do, going to church, believing in God, and went to student teach, and blam, the trade towers get hit. And I told that story on here. I was student teaching Nathaniel Hawthorne's Scarlet Letter to high school students in Cato Meridian, New York. Blam, September 11th. And we all stopped and watched on the monitor as those jets slammed into the trade towers, and we were all speechless, students, teachers alike, while it was happening. And then I was told, somebody came into the classroom and said, "Mr. Schenk, your guard unit has called the school. You're supposed to report to your armory immediately." And I said goodbye to the kids. I said goodbye to the faculty and went off to serve. Got rid of my jeans and shirt and T-shirt and put on the Army uniform and went down to the World Trade Center for 16 days and 16 nights, right on site. Right in it, in the ashes and the flames, finding body parts, dealing with wacko people, working 16, 17-hour shifts for 16 days, breathing all that asbestos and toxic smoke, and dealing with all the emotional trauma. And there was a lot of emotional trauma there. None of us were prepared for. So I get back to my college, and they said, "You've been gone too long," when I got back from my duty. And Put the uniform away and called the college, said I'm back. And they said, you've been gone, you've missed 16 days. They said you need to formally withdraw and redo your student teaching next semester. Another setback. I should have been working that. If not for what the psychology teacher did to me, this wouldn't have happened. See how she plays into it? If she didn't do what she did to me, the psychology teacher, I wouldn't have been student teaching that. I would have been working as a teacher then. Yeah, I swear it was orchestrated. Everything. It just, no doubt in my mind, it was orchestrated. Remember, I picked the hard life, the hard path when I was 11. So, okay, I'll redo it next semester. I come back the spring of 2002 and redid student teaching, didn't have a problem with it again. And went to graduate to get on with my life as a teacher. Finishing up, that was the last year of my military service. So I'm still on track with my plans. And SUNY Cortland, then at that time, May of 2002, said they weren't going to let me graduate because I had missed they said because I was absent from class, that's were their words. You were absent from class last semester, and because you were absent, and they're talking to me like I'd skipped out, and they knew what happened. They knew I got sent away by the governor of New York to serve at the Trade Center, military service. Because you were absent, a portion of your student loan defaulted, and you got to pay that back. $3,700 and some dollars, $63. You remember that? I remember that. Because the college paid it back. They didn't tell me anything about this. They wouldn't let me graduate. We put an academic freeze on your account, and until you pay back $3,763, we're not going to let you graduate. I was mad. Really mad. I'm a man of principle. I know right from wrong. What they did was wrong. I said, look, the governor ordered me to duty. The governor is the boss of SUNY. Your boss, the New York State governor. I had papers. Here's the orders. The governor, the governor orders you to active duty. And they just ignored that little. It was just a detail they ignored. I said, look, let me graduate. I'll get a job. I said, I'm going to be working for New York State. You'll get paid. And I'm working, and you did the right thing. And we're all happy at the end of the day. And they wouldn't budge. And I was so mad. I felt they stabbed me right in the back, and they did. And push come to shove, I didn't have $3,000. I didn't have the money for one thing. Nobody in my family did. Everybody, it was a hard time. My mother, I won't get into it. She got cancer, and her business slowed down while she was dealing with that. She survived it, praise God. That's another story, but nobody had any money to loan me. And because of the child support and my own financial position in life, at that point in life, I couldn't get a loan from the bank. There was no way I couldn't come up with it. And I told them, look, I don't have the money. And when you're student teaching, you're not allowed to moonlight. You're not allowed to work. It was enough that they allowed me to just keep serving in the Guard. And I went round and round arguing with these people, thinking they would eventually do the right thing, and they never did. And I started trying to take them to court. And New York State, it was me versus the state attorney general at this point. It went right to the state attorney general's office. And the SUNY deferred it. And somebody at my college lost their job over this. I had a couple people in the English department fighting for me, but they weren't able to. I guess there was quite a battle going on my behalf, but they lost, and I lost. And I never got to teach. And after 2 years, the requirements to be a teacher changed. I would have had to go back to college for another year to take a whole bunch of other courses on top of paying them $3,700 and some change. So my whole teaching career got shot down, and I started working odd jobs, and I'm still paying child support. I'm still poor. I couldn't leave. I didn't have a car half the time. I'm working in places I could walk to. Oh, it was a hard time. And I'm angry. Oh, I was going to get mobilized. This is the other thing. That summer of 2002, my unit was mobilized to go. The war was on. The terrorist war was on by that point. I think they were fighting in Afghanistan at first. My unit was mobilized, and I'm a platoon sergeant. I'm like, all right, I wanted to go. I wanted to serve. You know, even though they would have had to extend my enlistment because I was retiring. Extend it. I wanted to go. And a freak accident happened, another thing. Because if I would have gone with my unit, the deployment was supposed to be for a year. But I was an E7, a sergeant first class, with 20 years at that point. I was making really, really good money. Honestly, for me, great money. Providing I lived to spend it, which I figured I will. That's in God's hands. And so I was ready to go, and I said, I'll do that year of service. I'm not going to spend any money while I'm, serving. And it's, whatever they got me doing. I'll come back from that, retire out, pay them their silly 37 probably in bags of nickels or something, get my degree, and get on with my life finally. All right, so that was the plan. Right when that was happening, I had a principal from a town nearby, a small city, called me up. He'd heard about me. And he said, hey, I've heard about you, good things. And he said, I've got an English teaching job. I really would like to talk to you about high school English teaching. I'm like, yes. Well, I said, oh, this was right before the military service.